workshops that you've ever been
Workshop.
to. So this is the workshop. And so welcome to the workshop, guys. So glad that you're here today. We're going to do these 6 essential steps for planning a kitchen remodel, insights for homeowners. So I have had the privilege of doing over 100 different types of just kitchen renovations. And every single one is always unique. It's always different. And sometimes it's a full kitchen, sometimes we're just changing an island and keeping the rest of the cabinetry or taking out a wall. So we're going to try to go through and dissect just an overview, right? There's so many different types of houses. There's ramblers, all these different 2-story houses, 3-story, whatnot. And we just want to make sure that we're covering the basis so that we have a good foundation in order for our kitchens to to prosper, right? And so here we go. And quick thing, right? My name is Justin. My wife and I have been together for almost 11 years, or sorry, married for almost 11 years. The reason why we got into contracting and stuff like that is actually we worked with kids in higher situations in Guatemala for almost 7 years. Well, 7 years traveling back and forth. We'd work here in the summer, go there in the winter, and then I ended up realizing like I was continuously broke and I wasn't building. I was starting and finishing every year. We'd spend our life, our savings going down there, which is super fun, but we wanted to create something more sustainable. And I ended up coming into this business back in 2016. My dad, DJ, started the business, and my wife and I told her no, I didn't want to be a part of it. I really actually didn't like contracting or anything like this since I grew up in it, and I wasn't forced to do it, but I was kind of forced to do it. So I didn't really have a love for it as much. And then, so my team right now, right, is it's me, my dad, my wife, right? Me and my wife run, and we mainly do everything, right? So I'm the contractor side of what is going on. She's the design side. So a lot of what you see in all of our photos and stuff is actually a very big taste of way that she interacts and helps our homeowners choose what they want to choose, right? And Will is our project manager. He's my right hand man. Me and him do everything together. Any decision that you like, any structural decision you want him answering. And then Sam is our office manager, and she's the friendly, happy face that you're calling when you get your phone calls, right? All right. So expanding your home is a significant and exciting project, right? And it can be meticulous, and there's decisions and there's hundreds of different things you can do. So let's go through it. So I'm gonna pause this really quick, and we're gonna go through. So why a kitchen remodel, right? So a lot of times in the kitchen, the first thing that happens is that people are sick of the golden oak or a bad, unfunctioning kitchen that they can't store stuff in. So what are the ways that we help with the functionality and the storage is we look at the floor plan. That is the crucial first step, is that if we're making an addition, if we can make an addition, how big can it be? What are we adding for windows? What are we adding for flooring, right? And approaching it in a way that it's practical. So many times we go, and because we have these incredible devices, that we go in there and we just Google kitchen models for me near me, and it's just like boom, you get all these just hundreds and hundreds of opinions, and it's just an overload. And then all of a sudden you're 6-7 years down the road and you haven't done anything because you promised your promise from your husband that he would have it done in a couple of minutes, in a couple of years, and then it's a couple of decades. And then your promise from, a designer, depending on your relationship, that your friend is a designer, they're gonna, oh, you can do this and this. But then it came to the cost, and it was like, who do I hire to do the work? Oh, well, go to Home Depot. But then you found out that Home Depot is great for some things, but for most kitchens that we do that want to have a unique look where it's just like an art piece, that the functionality of the Home Depot kitchen is not, it's not going to cut it, because you can't do your cool rollouts. You're not able to, the long-term effects of the cabinet hardware. There's just, it's not the same as something custom. Everyone's in their own spots, but let's continue on. So first and foremost, get your pen and paper out, and we're gonna write this down, is understanding the purpose of it, the multifaceted space, right? A lot of times it's the cooking, dining, social area, and also the living room is sometimes combined depending on the house, right? Hidden costs, right? Where does most of the hidden costs actually happen? Usually between the electrical, plumbing, and or HVAC. A lot of houses have like the utility room directly underneath the kitchen. That pipe is usually somewhere up behind the sink. You want to move the sink or you want to move the current range, that pipe is there. Just doing those walkthroughs and getting those photos and documentation. And then obviously the relationships that you're building and the investment of your family function piece. And then also the function of, like I'm putting 70, 80 grand in the house or 150. In 6 years when I sell the house, will I be able to get some of that back? And some people, they don't care about that. They just want a nice place to live. And both are fine. Everyone's in their own spot. Let's continue on. All right. So layout. So one of the things to think about is the traffic patterns, right? Everyday use. I think a lot of times there's something that we talk about in our kitchen remodels and things like that. Let me see if I can pull up a photo. I might actually be in this slide. Hold on. You know what? We're going to come back to the layout. We're going to talk about it quick, but we're going to come back. All right. So the layout, the zones of activities, right? So for example, if I have my range here, I don't always want a sink directly behind me, right? Because as soon as someone starts washing dishes, I'm not able to cook because the space might be a little tight. Or the other thing is like, I really don't like things on the countertop. And it's like, all right, is there a way to make our kitchen cabinets so that we don't have to have any countertops? That we don't have to use the space of the countertop to hold appliances and things like that. All right, next part, quality of the materials. So the invisible upgrades, right? So we've talked about this a little bit with the kitchen. So in the kitchen cabinet world, I am not a cabinet maker, but I hang out with a lot of them and I work with a lot of them. And there's usually, custom, we call it semi-custom, pre-finished, and then box. And so when we're looking at the lifeline of your project and kids, the wear and tear, we want to make sure that we're getting the appropriate grade for what is needed, not just going with the cheap thing. Because in the kitchen cabinet world and also countertops, you get what you pay for, and it's you can get a killer deal, but you may end up having some issues. So the other thing, health considerations, this is more new where paint and the countertops, stuff like that people have like what is it called? They'll get like, what's the word? Allergic to something, but we'll go into that later. Okay, so a couple other things to think about, right? Is the lighting of the kitchen, even if you keep your current kitchen but just change your lighting, may change your whole life. With can lights or dimmers and whatnot, controls. The accent lighting is really important to remember and to focus on as you're putting in your new kitchen. And that goes a really long ways. All right, personal touch, unique storage, statement pieces, right? This is like why a lot of people like working with my wife. She'll try to take a concept or something that you have in your house or something that you fell in love with and make it reality. And mixing and matching, right? Not everything has to be a certain layout. Not everything has to be a certain color. Like a lot of questions I get is where does the kitchen remodel stop when you have your trim, your doors, everything on there's all golden oak, and now you want to put in a white kitchen or alder kitchen. There's some things that you can do that are natural that can have a start and finish. So we'll go through that. All right, hiring an architect or designer. Who do you hire and when? I talked about this before, and I'll talk about it almost every day forever. It depends on the overall experience and budget you're working with, right? So designers are great. They can capture everything, put it all together. But if you don't have a good budget, you bring that design into the contractor. They're like, hey, we can only do, 5 things out of the 80 that you want. Or, it's like a kitchen. They're like, you can only put this many cabinets to match your budget, and making sure the scope of work is matching the design. And that's what you're going to get when you're paying for whatever. The other thing is, do you hire an architect? So in my experience, your general contractor should be able to do everything that your architect is doing on most cases in a residential space. They can pull the same permit, those things, they can still get it signed off by the architect, but I wouldn't consider, unless you're doing like, a $500,000 plus remodel or something like that. I want to go to the architect first. I would, if you have a good budget and you have a lot of equity in your house, go to the contractor designer first. The designer, if you have more free flowing and you're really needing help, the contractor, like for example, a lot of people will come to me if they're stuck. A lot of our projects that we have, our contractors like, oh, you can do that, but it's so hard. But then we come in and we're like, hey, maybe that is hard. What if there's something different we can do? All right. So here's a before and after. A couple things about it is, and I talked about this one in the addition as well. Second. All right. So their new range ended up coming here. Obviously, the patio door is back there, so we extended this, I think, about 13 feet. So the old wall went to about right. Oh my God, went to about right there. And so one of the things with this one is that she wanted it to look like an original part of her house. Obviously, the cabinetry and trim work all had to be redone, but the goal was to keep like everything to be a free floating space that made sense. So on this one of the things that had to happen is that she didn't have a lot of space for a pantry and her refrigerator. So what we did is we actually found refrigerator appliances that go into the island. And then we also have the pantries on the left side. The sink is actually on the far left side. I don't know if I have a photo of the sink. And then we put some windows. So looking at this picture, it's on the left side. Next one. So the additions, right? Are we using it to extend a living room, a space that people can hang out and spend time in, or are we just putting it, are we making it an addition so that it's a sitting room? A lot of times right now, it's usually a mixture between a sitting room and a living room, or we're literally extending the whole kitchen out into that space. But it really, trying to tie it in and make it into a, like, you can always just do the addition, put doors on it, and then, or it's a great example in time to start upgrading and updating other parts of your project. Okay. So next part here. So so this is the original one that I was showing you, that we put that window in front. That window was not there before. And let me see here. So there's the drawings of it. This is how I used to do our drawings. It used to all be paper and handwritten. Now we have a program, but just doing simple drawings so that you can understand where things are going, where the layout of the kitchen cabinetry is going. Those things go a long ways. And getting, graph paper or taking a little YouTube course on it is such a good way to being able to express what you're trying to explain and get to your onto your your current situation. All right, so one more time, guys. Integrating, right? What are we looking for? The maximum value. Is it going to be in the relationship? Is it going to be, for example, what you got grandkids coming over, you got a lot of different aspects of a family in life and events happening that you want to make sure that you're flowing. What is the total budget for the project, right? That's a really great place to start. So if you have equity, have you already learned about your financing? Do they tell you go get an estimate and then we'll talk about the financing? Just having that down in a way that you're not going back and forth on different questions and answers is going to be really helpful. What timeline would you have and when do you need the project done by, right? That's a great, having an open timeline is awesome, because then, you're like, can you get at the addition in the winter? Is it a spring project? Trying to get together on how is that going to work for you. And then if it's going to be in a kitchen, is where you're going to do your dishes, where you're going to, have all these different things that you're moving your life through, right? And making sure that as you're living your life, if you have kids and stuff, where are they going to be? How are you going to protect them from the current construction space? Before the in-person consultation estimate, what questions or so one of the things that I think would be really important before I met with the contractor and had an estimate done on my kitchen would be, is the design that I have in mind something that you can provide? I think a lot of times people can get caught up in a space where they're believing they're getting something that they're not truly getting, because either the drawings and or the ideas of the contractor and the person are not aligned with each other. And another question would be is, what have you done, and are they real photos of things that you've done? Because you can get stock images and stuff like that. So lastly here, which question would be also helpful is, have you worked with a contractor before? Like for me, I always ask that question, have you worked with a contractor before, so I can gauge how their experience was, how everything's going. And if they had, what were some hangups they've had, and then is that something that my company struggles with, or is that something that we thrive in, right? And making sure that the culture of the homeowner and what I'm doing are together in the same ideas. So so I think it's important, right? One more time, is to remember what is the impact on your daily life, like with the routine of a remodel, going to happen. So if it's a bathroom remodel, kitchen, is remembering and knowing that it may not always, if the timeline gets pushed off, or electrician can't get there, or plumber can't get there, what are you expecting, and what are the ways that you're going to navigate that situation? It's just good to have that conversation up front with whoever's working on your home, or even if you're working on your own home. So anyways, guys, lastly, I mean, when you're ready for something, right? Like, I'm saying looking for credible sources, looking for, a process that eliminates that stress, that, the essential steps of a kitchen always depend on the type of kitchen you're doing. So if it's something where you're removing a wall, if it's something where you're adding a wall, adding space, adding a pantry, adding an addition, is making sure that you have a clear scope of like plus and oh my God, what's the word? Of pros and cons that you're going through. This is what I want. This is something I don't want, and making sure that all those things are readily available for you. So thank you guys so much. I hope this was helpful. We're gonna do some question and answers here. I'm gonna stop the recording, but we'll do some question and answers, and we'll be talking to you guys later. Thank you.